fish in a stream, swimming towards a vicious dream. Don't you know we're the walking dead, dead, dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they got into our heads, heads, heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking, we're the walking, fear and hatred, dull and jaded. It's all been debated and manipulated. Nothing's ever as it seems. We're bound to believe everything they scream. Don't you know we're the walking dead, dead, dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they got into our heads, heads, heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking dead. We're the walking dead, dead. Oh, 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 oh. We're the walking dead. We're the walking dead, dead. Oh, 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 oh. Highly sedated, intoxicated. We're automated and overpopulated. Don't you know we're the walking dead, dead, dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they got into our heads, heads, in our heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking dead. We're the walking dead, dead. Oh, 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 oh. We're the walking dead. We're the walking dead, dead. Oh, 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 oh. Highly sedated, intoxicated. We're automated and overpopulated. We're all fish in a stream, swimming towards a vicious dream. Don't you know we're the walking dead, dead, dead? Our lives were meant to be this bleak. Somehow they got into our heads, heads, heads. We're wide awake, yet still asleep. We're the walking, we're the walking.
Hi there. They call me the Governor, and I'm here with some wonderful folks to talk about Fear the Walking Dead. We're talking about episode 7, The Portrait. So, if anyone on this panel has seen it, the 8th episode already, no spoilers, because I will be very mad. And you saw what happened to certain people when I get mad, like half my town. So, but before we get into talking about this picture-perfect episode, haha, see what I did there? Let's go around. Let's have the newcomer introduce herself. Karena,
Hello.
tell us about you.
My name is Karena. I am a Walking Dead fan, Fear the Walking Dead fan, World Beyond, I still watch. But I'm just excited to be here. I'm normally in the chat every week, commenting and, cheering on Rashawn because I'm Team Rashawn. And I'm just happy to be here. So thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you for joining us. So we are trying to bring in some super fans from time to time. Tomaj, let's talk about you.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm from Big Bro and Little Sis Reacts, where I do little reactions with my little sister. You can catch me on Twitter at Tomaj21. I tweet about the Walking Dead shows all the time. That's pretty much mostly what I tweet about. I do reactions to all the Walking Dead universe shows. Big fan. I'm psyched to be here.
Glad you could come on board, and we'll have to figure out next week's the finale, which you probably already watched. Don't deny it. But we will be talking about
I definitely did.
Next week. But Jaz.
Hi, I'm Jaz, former Wizard World social media person, and I'm over at Fan Expo now working on some stuff there. Love The Walking Dead. So excited for this episode, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys.
All right, I'm glad that you moved to block out the emergency sign behind you. She's actually in front of a Starbucks, but right next to like an emergency sign. Is that like next to the hospital?
Not really.
It just says, yeah, I was getting a little worried, so she's going to watch some basketball.
All good
game
over
afterwards.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go Blazers.
And I, of course, am the Governor, and I am the undisputed ruler of Woodbury, and I could teach Strand a thing or two about running a community, but, he probably won't listen because that's Strand. And, of course, I'm on Fandom Spotlite, and we have all kinds of stuff on there, which we'll talk about later. But right now I want to talk about The Portrait. And Strand just sitting there getting someone to paint him and telling her business. Come on. What did you think about his frequent interruptions, getting the portrait done? Let's start with Jaz, since, you're outside.
I'm outside. I loved it. As opposed to how Strand felt about that original portrait, I thought it was absolutely stunning. As the episode progressed, I think we can kind of tell what kind of portrait he was wanting from the way that it ended and the way that it looked with all the zombie blood, I'm guessing is what was on it. It was fantastic. Obviously there was something seriously wrong with him because every time he looked at it, he saw walkers. So
yeah, or he heard
take that
walkers.
however you will.
Or I would say should be called biters. Now,
Stalkers, yeah, whatever.
But that was an interesting thing. Well, Karena, what was your thoughts? He was also acting like a prick during it, so I want to address that during his sitting.
But that's normal.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Strand was being a complete jerk during the whole portrait painting. The portrait was fantastic. It looked really, really good. I don't know what he thought it should look like because it looked just like him. I was noticing the painters, her eyes, as all those calls kept coming in, people wanting to get inside the tower, and she really was reacting, slightly to, him hanging up on people, telling them no. So he looked like a dictator in the portrait because he was acting like a dictator in real life, and he didn't like what he saw, but it's what he's become.
Indeed. Tomaj?
That's exactly the point I was going to say. He looks exactly like a dictator in the amazing portrait. And he didn't like that. He really didn't like that. And then he just was cutting everybody off on the phone. He's like, I don't need you. I already got one of those. We got that skill. Just let somebody. I'm like, dude. I'm like, you sound like some amazing people. I'm like, okay. And then I did catch Arno when he came on. I was like, oh, that was a good turn down. So he was his gut was right on that one. Because I wondered like how things would have changed if Arno had got in. But yeah. And then he went and threw the girl's portrait off the building, and I'm like, the audacity, like that was an amazing portrait. Like,
well, he said it could have been her. He said, "You're lucky I don't throw you over."
I thought it was going to be her.
I thought so too.
Yeah, it was. I personally thought that it was a perfect capture of him. You know, just looking like an asshole.
Absolutely.
You know, with his sword and being all, you know, uppity. I thought it was a perfect capture of him. And you know, if they were having, you know, the Talking Dead, that someone in that studio audience would have came up to ask a question and would be going home with a painting of Strand. You know that would have happened.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, damn it. You know, they could actually put that on, you know, sell those. Or at least
it was really nice
version that people could frame of that particular painting. That was, I don't know that I'd want it on my wall. Maybe for darts, you know.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not a fan of Strand by any means, but I might hang that maybe.
I'm a fan.
Tear it up a little bit, you know.
So AMC is watching, so I'm sure they're going to be paying attention to what we're saying.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to market that right away. Let me get to the chat so we don't forget about them. Cleo says hi to everybody. Karena, Tomaj, Jaz Bielby.
Hi, Cleo.
The recap pod says hello all. Hey, Karena. Erica says hey, everyone. Joyful First says, Karena, you look amazing.
Thank you.
And then hey, everyone. Hey, and then they're talking among themselves. Tomaj, so glad you're back. Karena looks awesome.
My pleasure.
Hey, Karena, glad you joined. You got a lot of fans. Make them feel.
You guys make me feel good. Oh no. Thank you guys.
And then Andy K says, yes, he is an old school dictator with a uniform and all. I mean, military uniforms are what a lot of dictators wear, whether they have military background or not.
Right.
Do you really think that Kim Jong-un has been to basic training at all? I mean,
no.
But, you know, he wants to dress like a dictator. Yes, the artist's getting a message that Strand was sending her. Joyful says. The recap pod says, he used to like Strand. He's the worst now. So, he is just more himself. So
yeah. And I love Strand. I mean, from season 1, I've always loved Strand. I've forgiven him a lot, and he has done a lot that has been pretty shady, but he has those moments where you're like, okay, he kind of gets it. Let's forgive him, and then he'll do something else. I have been struggling so far this season. I'm glad they're going full villain, because if you're going to go villain, go all the way, right? But it's really hard for me to hold on to the love because he's just being such a jerk. I mean, just week after week, it's like, okay, it's just beyond. I can't. It's breaking my heart. It really is.
Well, talking about Strand, I'm just actually thinking back to season 1, and why did he bring Nick and the family on his boat to begin with? I mean, he could, he would have had a lot less trouble if he left them behind and went on his boat and just, existed, and he wouldn't have to worry about Alicia talking to anybody on the radio. And
he needed Nick, though. If you remember, he said, Nick had a certain skill because Nick was a drug addict, and drug addicts are crafty. They're quick on their feet. They know how to maneuver, and he needed someone with that skill set. Nick just happened to have a family that came along with him. It was like a package deal, but he really just wanted Nick because Nick was resourceful. And it paid off. I mean, we saw Nick evolve. So he Strand kind of got the bonus with the, the family and all of that. But if he could have thrown everybody else off that boat and still kept Nick, he would have done it.
I probably would have looked for a pizza delivery guy. They're quick on their feet. Though they got to watch out for bats. Anyway.
Oh, no.
What? Those critters. Or, with barbed wire. Anyway. So, Morgan calls. And Strand is like, pack. He doesn't even say it himself. He's like, tell him to go away. Which I'm like, so he's showing no compassion to a baby. And then he changes his mind. What do you think? We find out later that it's all about Alicia, but why do you think he's bringing in Morgan? Why he thinks Morgan might be a good choice? Jazz, any thoughts on that?
I mean, I've been pondering that question all day since I've been watching it this morning. I mean, they obviously have a history, so he's on one hand thinking he can trust him, but still keeping him at arms, because he obviously trusts nobody in this. I mean, he makes that fairly clear. But yeah, and I also believe the fact that when he brings the baby in on it, he knows he's not going to do anything to bring harm to the child. So I think it's more of a thing how can I use this guy more than anything, actually?
Tomaj, your thoughts?
I think he needs somebody that Alicia's going to actually respond to. I think Alicia isn't, within her situation that she may be in, because, she's in charge of all these people that she just up and left with. So, not anybody could get Alicia to just come back with them, except maybe Morgan. So I think he really just needed somebody to get through to Alicia, and Dwight and Sherry obviously weren't on board with helping him the first time. So he was like, okay, Morgan might be my only hope. And then he just got done looking at the picture, seeing himself as a dictator. He's like, okay, I really need Alicia here, so that people aren't seeing me this way. So he needs help with leadership, but he doesn't want Morgan's help. So
does he really want help with leadership? He doesn't seem that upset with the way
I think he does. I think he wants somebody to check him, but he doesn't just let anybody check him. I don't know. It's Alicia is the one person that he allows criticism from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with Tomaj. Before Alicia, it was Madison, and Strand loved Madison. He loved her a lot. And so, Alicia is kind of the Madison proxy. She's Madison's daughter. So definitely Alicia can get to him in a way that no one else can. That's why he sent her away when they were at Virginia's compound, and he knew that he was about to start doing some dirt and being a dummy. He sent Alicia away because he knew that he couldn't face her and do all of the crap that he was gonna do. So he sent her away and then, did a bunch of dirt. So Alicia, she's his Achilles heel.
Or his conscience that he can banish on occasion.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that for some reason he feels a connection with her. Though I would say, wouldn't Alicia not like Morgan because he took over her goddamn show? That was my thought. It's really? Morgan shows up and she's like, look, you go back to your fucking Alexandria and just go back to your clear and your, all lives matter and all that.
All life is precious,
all
actually.
life is precious. And, I think him bringing in Morgan, it was interesting, and he got to, as a bonus, kind of rub Morgan's nose. And he said, I did it when you were out there, but, having him walk in and see the friggin' yoga room, and, artists and, you know, the music and the booze, and, you know, it's basically a cultured place, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, I had booze in Woodbury, but, you know, I deserved it. Because, I mean, look what was on my TVs. Just these heads. The Talking Heads' favorite band, but, you know, it's like, really. The Biting Heads? Anyway, so...
Yeah, and Penny in your ear growling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, I had this guy tell me he had a cure. You know, Milton and Eugene's, they're all like, you know, cure. That's why, you know, I had to kill Milton. And if I met Eugene and I would have found out he was lying about the cure, I would have. Yeah, anyways. A lot worse than what Abraham did. But we have a few people in the chat saying, Andy K saying Strand is complicated. He's being a villain, but I don't think that's truly in his heart. He's trying it, but living it, it's not in him, in his opinion. Joyful First says Strand tested the people at the detention center. He saw Nick was cunning. Told Maddie her son didn't need to be babied.
Yep.
A couple more people came in. Grimes Girl, Cleo, hello. Recap pods. Nobody can see him. He sees Morgan as his equal, so he might have that, like, thing with Morgan. Plus, he needs him to manage Alicia, of course. That's why he brought him in. Strand thinks that Morgan is more of his equal than any of these other people around him right now. And he's also a link to Alicia. Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, Morgan refuses to bend the knee. He is not, you know... Though he's kind of like, Strand considers him the failed leader because his communities didn't work out so well. But, yeah. Andy K says, good point, Tomaj, about wanting someone to check him, and Alicia is it.
Mm-hmm.
Strand doesn't seek competition from Alicia. Joe first says he can be ruthless, but she would pull him back from the brink.
Mm-hmm.
And the recap pods, Alicia's going to hate what Strand has become when she finds out.
Absolutely.
So he was already on that line, but he crossed it now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's going to be something that... Does he want to actually, you know, go through that rejection by Alicia? I mean, I think that might push him over the edge. We might be seeing that. I mean, I haven't seen episode 8... But, and don't you be spoiling it for me, but I imagine that when Alicia does finally confront Strand, that he's going to be, either he's going to be ashamed, or he's going to just say the hell with it and go full on Strand. One of those two. And
I think it's going to be the latter, too.
Some people aren't saying shit because it must happen in episode 8.
Interesting.
So, Strand is he is the type to double down at every opportunity. That's what he does.
Yep.
He also does not like to admit when he is wrong, though.
No, ego out of control.
Yep. Though he did realize that he was wrong about Morgan. We'll get to. So Morgan brings in Baby Mo finally.
Yeah.
Motherfucker poisoned Strand, which, you know, I don't blame him. But that doesn't seem like a Morgan move. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still kind of question that. I was like, I mean, you had the little mark on the finger at first. I'm like, is he hallucinating that? Because, I mean, obviously Strand's a little crazy. I think we can all pretty much say that he's going off his rocker right now. But yeah, it seems so out of character of Morgan.
It did. My first thought, I'm like, is he poisoned? I'm like, because like my mind didn't go like to where Morgan would be the one who would do something like this. I'm like, is he poisoned? Is it like affecting his fingertips or something? And then it was like, no, he did it. I'm like, wow. I'm like,
he did it.
That was bold. Oh.
Really
Morgan
bold.
said, all life is precious except for yours, Strand.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I guess it's because he kept pushing the fact that I brought Baby Mo. I would never do something like that with my baby right here. But he risked it all. He put
Morgan's
all
a
his chips in.
savage. We knew that already, though.
Well, the thing
He
is,
just keeps it under wrap.
he wouldn't put his baby in danger by like hooking up with these, scrappers or whatever. What were they called? The stalkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And having them attack and possibly cause damage to the building that his child is in. But if he can kill Strand, if it can appear to be that he just got sick, or or maybe he figured if he killed Strand, he could basically take over. I'm not sure, like the whole challenge type thing, but it seemed like an ill-conceived plan, because I don't think Howard is necessarily going to follow Morgan if he succeeded and Victor died. Say the stalkers just were like, they didn't show up. And so he poisoned Strand, and Strand was sick enough, and he died. Which, Morgan's not a very good poisoner, because obviously, Strand survived what he gave him for poison.
Well, he only took one sip, though. He only took one sip. If he had had the whole drink, he would have been dead. But he had the one sip, and then
Good point.
the walker through the window.
But
Actually,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think he would have died, because remember Morgan said at the elevator scene, he said, "I brought June down here." He didn't have to do that. He could have finished Strand off, but I think Strand, he saw some redeeming qualities in Strand at the last second, and he switched up on his plan, and that was his mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
I think that, they probably would have still blamed him if Strand had died when they went down there. If he showed up with Baby Mo and was like, we got help, but Strand died. He got, he slipped. He shouldn't have gone down there. We all told him he shouldn't have gone down there. And so he could have gotten away with it. But, yeah, he's too wishy-washy. It's like, be a ruthless son of a bitch, Morgan. Or just be a pussy. Whatever. Just don't go in the middle, because you're going back and forth. And that's, causing problems.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think Morgan, he really didn't want to involve anybody else in his conflict with Strand. He didn't want to harm anybody else, which is why I think he took the poison route. And then again, and I don't think that he was necessarily maybe against anybody else becoming leader, just not Strand, because he knows how Strand can be with turning people down, not letting people in. I think if Howard was in charge, he would have let those people in, because he kept saying to Strand, like, we could have used those people. We could have used those skills. Like, he wasn't very happy with Strand's decisions. So I think Morgan would have been okay if Howard was in charge.
Yeah, but go ahead.
I was just going to say that I don't really see Morgan as the type to want to be the leader either. So
I don't know.
Yeah,
he did have a vision, and he's been a leader, and he loves to give
that's
speeches.
true, but I just the more I see of him, like, I don't think that he wants that kind of job necessarily.
But
it hasn't been working for him.
But would Howard have, so say, he does succeed in poisoning Strand suddenly keels over dead. Would Howard have been like, all right, Morgan shows up, Strand dies, not a coincidence. Is he going to let Morgan go, or is he going to, seek revenge? I am totally shocked, because when we first met Howard, he didn't seem like, the Kool-Aid drinking type, but he is totally, freebasing the Kool-Aid at this point. It's like,
Tugging it by the gallon.
I thought he was behind it. So I don't know. I guess that just goes to show, for me at least, I don't feel like I know enough about Howard to even answer that question. Like, I don't know. I don't know what he would have done.
You're right.
I mean, because he was in this building, right, by himself. He never invited anybody in. Strand just happened to come up on the place. So I don't know that he ever really wanted leadership or that he was against it. I don't know. I don't know enough about him.
All we know is he's Strand's bitch.
He definitely is.
He's the Milton for sure.
Yeah, Milton had his own ideas. I think he's more of the Merle. Though he had his own ideas. So I don't know. He was just maybe Martinez. So a couple things in the chat. Joy first says Strand has never wanted to be part of a group, so this leadership role is more than he can handle. I don't know. I think he likes being top dog, but I don't think he knows how to lead properly. So that's going to cause problem. And the gate says never go full Strand. I guess, you know, it's like going 88 miles an hour. You're going to see some serious shit. He's going to be even more ruthless, I bet. Cleo says. Total First says Morgan's a dad again, so he will do whatever he needs to do so he doesn't lose another family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
But again, an ill thought out plan because, you know, it's pretty obvious to someone like Howard that he would put two and two together and say, well, I'm not the one who, you know, killed Strand, so it's probably Morgan. So I think Mo might have been spared and given to somebody to raise, but I think he would have taken a dive.
June probably would have taken her, I would guess.
Andy Kate says,
Well, Grace
Morgan
would have
is
been
just
pulling
as
up.
savage as
Well,
Strand
that
too,
tries to
yeah.
control it.
She was gonna pull up with that inbred. They
Grace was going to get her baby back, for sure.
and avenge Morgan, I'm sure.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
So Andy K says Morgan is just as savage as Strand, but tries to control it. First says Howard is a B. He'd hand it all over. And the girl says Morgan will do what he needs to do. When it comes to his family, Howard is out for Howard. Whoever's willing to keep him alive. So he's also, you know, basically gravitates towards the strongest person. Catpot says Morgan changes his mind when he sees a sliver of hope. If it's a mistake, always flip flops and always bites him later.
Yepper.
Yep, 100% agree.
Grimes Girl says Howard will follow whoever's in charge.
He will.
And Recap Pot says yes, Howard is a follower. So,
Yepper. He is.
yeah, he doesn't seem to have a very strong personality, but he gravitates towards those with strong personalities. So if Morgan had found him first, he'd be Morgan's bitch. So, you know.
Yep.
But he does seem capable, and he does seem smart. Just, you know, just drawn to follow.
Right.
So
It would have been interesting, though, because Morgan wouldn't have treated him the same way Strand is treating him. Morgan would have treated him more as an equal. Morgan might have even tried to push him to be a leader because it was his place. But that's my thought on it.
that's quite possible. But I want to talk about death by flying biter. That was not. I mean, when the first biter hit and it hit the window and was like squeaking its way down, one was hilarious, but two was like, what the hell?
Right.
It's like it's raining biters. Hallelujah! You know, it's like it was just it was a shock. What, Tomaj, what was your thought when you saw the biters? And then, you know, what do you think of that as a weapon? You know,
I think that might be my favorite weapon because I never would have thought of it. I thought that was so interesting. They had this thing already built, so they've used it before. And then they had the walkers with the bomb, the warp head pieces on it, so it was blowing up. I'm like, this was genius.
Yes.
Like, you can literally take down this tower with this crafted weapon. Like, I'm like, and it would even work for like other communities. Like if they would have pulled up to like Alexandria, say, with something like that, they could just hurl walkers over and they'd be inside. And it would it's like a perfect weapon for almost any situation. So I thought it was really cool. It was unique. And I just didn't know what they were gonna do until the Grace thing. But it was, I like the weapon.
Karena, your thoughts?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was extremely creative. It was hilarious as well because we've never seen it before in a universe, and I think that that's one thing that that Fear does well is, you know, kind of put spin on, you know, new walkers, new walker designs, new ways to kill. So yeah, I thought it was great. It was hilarious. More of that, please.
Jazz, your thoughts?
I loved it. it's something I probably would have never thought of to do in a million years, but it was absolutely brilliant. I like the way that, you know, they were allegedly using non-tainted biters at first.
Right.
And then there was the threat of, no, we're going to do the worst ones here soon if you don't, you know, comply with what we want you to do.
Yeah.
And then that one walker coming right through the window. Oh my gosh, it was so great. So
how about when Morgan goes, Strand, get it out of here. Morgan stood back and Morgan wanted no parts of it. He's like, you, Strand, this is your tower. You get that walker out of here. And then Strand kicked it in the butt out the window.
No, that would
was
have
hilarious.
Just love throwing stuff out the window.
that would have been an opportunity when Strand was pushing him towards the window for Morgan to come up behind him and push Strand out too.
ooh, yeah.
You know, so that would have taken care of the problem. And it's like, you know, they throw
Then we
Biter
wouldn't
in.
have the final episode for the next part of the series.
Yeah,
So.
but
That's
still,
true.
it's just another option. I do like it as a weapon, and the fact that they put like bombs in some of them, you know, like pieces of the. I'm not sure how
Warhead.
nuclear material is supposed to just explode on its own. I mean, critical mass. I'm not a nuclear scientist.
Me neither.
But I understand it has to be a critical mass unless they mixed like explosives in with the material to just make it into a dirty bomb or something like that.
Mhm.
It's a cool weapon if you like throw explosives into the biters. If you're just shooting one at a time, like they roll up on Alexandria, they start shooting them in. Unless they have a bunch of them, you know, it's like, oh, here comes a biter, stab. Here comes a biter, stab. You know, it's not going to overwhelm the defenses, but the explosives, that's what really made it a fun thing. So, if you're into that kind of fun, couple things. There is some thoughts that this was so cool, that particular attack. So I do have to agree. They are pretty inventive with some of these things.
Yep.
Things you don't necessarily think about. All right, so we have this attack. What do we think about this group that is no longer with Alicia, apparently, as we found out later? You know, did they really expect that, like, they would all be, like, let in to the tower under threat? I mean, I don't think that their approach was going to be very successful in dealing with Strand or keeping the tower as a habitable place. So, what do we think about this villain? That didn't last too long, but Arno.
I mean, it was clearly some like last ditch effort to get the tower because he tried to sneak in. He tried to get let in. So I don't know what he would have done once he got in, if he would have just held somebody hostage or something. I don't know. But maybe he wants something else. I don't know, because like he was willing to destroy the tower, but what would that have gotten you? Like maybe he just wanted supplies out of it. But if
I
burn
can't
the tower
have it,
down,
no one can type of deal, I think, probably with him.
yeah, you know all about that, Governor.
Well, you know. I mean, I had a bunch of incompetent idiots who told me they couldn't take the prison, and then Rick waltzes in there with his group of, you know, old men and women and children and takes over the prison. So it's like, you know, and I had Merle friggin' Dixon, not the brightest bulb in the batch, I'm going to tell you. So, but yeah, I am aware of if I can't have it, nobody can, yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But again, logically, I mean, obviously Strand wasn't going to give in. I wouldn't have given. And yeah, it's a tough situation when they're actually throwing like exploding biters into, you know, your tower, and things are apparently signaling right by Jazz, because I can see the light blinking on her face. Now things are, things are rather chaotic. It's interesting how they had everything hardwired rather than doing any type of wireless communication unless they were on the road, which made sense because Strand wanted his exclusive club.
Right. And he said Morgan was a big mouth, broadcasting all of his business on the radio, so anybody could hear. So Strand was very, very smart in that, to have everything hardwired. That way, the communication was closed. No one on the outside could hear anything. Morgan is just telling all his business up and down, all of the dirt roads, which is not really, really smart on Morgan's part.
John and June were doing that too. It's like,
yeah,
they were.
John was like, we have plenty of food, and you can
oh my
come
God.
down.
Oh my God, that was so
like, what, do you have a restaurant? Come on.
Yeah, and then he didn't even let him down. I'm like, come on, dude.
It's like, we showed up, we heard your broadcast. Yeah. Friggin' tease.
Right, like, you told me I could come. You invited me, and then you closed the door.
Exactly. I'm moving in now. Move over.
Yeah, there was a lot. Made sense, but the problem is Strand rules by fear.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, he doesn't allow, there's like a central armory. And that's always a problem. That's always an issue. Like, Alexandria had the same problem. They had one armory, and then when the biters came in, the wolves let them in, or, all those biters were coming into Alexandria, and they had to sneak, and they had to get to the armory, because they didn't, say, all right, every house gets a gun, or a couple guns and a couple knives, just in case something happens. You have to spread out your stuff with threats such as these, which, I made sure my men were armed in Woodbury. Not just everybody, but still, you need to distribute the stuff around. Couple thoughts. Fear World has done an amazing job with the new Walker creation. It seems like they write just so they can get their ideas in. Mm-hmm. So they come up with an idea for a biter, and then they're like, how can I write an episode in order to shoehorn this biter in? You think that's what's happening?
I mean, ideas have to come, naturally. They don't come chronologically. So they probably have ideas, just trying to figure out how we're going to craft this to make sense. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, they probably.
I agree.
Yeah.
So back to Strand, what are our thoughts about him holding Baby Mo hostage?
Hated it.
Oh gosh, it was awful. Number one, that baby she's so adorable. She is so cute, and she's been through so much on this show. I think it was on Strand's part, he's thinking it's the smart move, because if I have Morgan's baby, then he's not going to do anything. But also, all it did was just make Morgan madder. I mean, I'm a parent. When you come for people's kids, it's a wrap. So whether it was Morgan or it was Grace, one of them was going to come after Strand just for even threatening the baby. So yeah, Strand, he definitely overplayed that hand by threatening the baby.
And I know I'm jumping a little over ahead for this, but that line where he said that she has to get used to her new daddy now, I was like, no. I was about ready to throw things in.
No.
I was like, that is not okay, sir.
No, it is not. And I'm just waiting for him to change her name from Baby Morgan to Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Victoria.
I hope Grace is like, no, you're not taking this baby. You're not touching him. I hope Grace puts up a fight. Because.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Grace might be the one that has to save them in this situation, because she's the one that. I would
be all for that too. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it really is going to be hard for Morgan to get at Strand and in that position. So Grace she might have to step it up. I mean.
Well, you see, Morgan and Grace are in lockstep. They're 100%. That's our daughter now. She's our baby. And they're not going to let anybody mess with their baby. So, like I said, Strand definitely overplayed his hand with that one, and he's going to regret it because I can see Grace going complete mama bear on Strand, and I'm here for it.
Facts.
But I also think that jump into that line at the end. It's like Strand wants everything that Morgan had or has.
God,
Absolutely.
yes.
So he's like Dwight, friggin' and Daryl. You know, Dwight at one point wanted to be Daryl so bad. He got his crossbow. He got, similar friggin' vest. Was it actually the same vest?
It was Daryl's vest.
Yeah.
He's wearing Daryl's vest, carrying Daryl's crossbow. Basically, he wanted to be Daryl so bad. It was like single white weirdo.
Yeah.
Or female, whatever it's called. So it's kind of like Strand's in the same thing. He's not quite as, well, he's pretty psycho. But he's a little more subtle. But he wants what Strand, he doesn't want to be Morgan. But he wants to have everything Morgan had and then some. He wants to prove that he does everything better. He even wants to be a better father now to Baby Mo. So.
Or Victoria. Changes her name.
That would, I'm sure, raise some eyebrows. A couple more comments. The catapult works only if the community can't get out to sneak around and stop them. Or, can't call in an MRAP to, mow down the catapult team. Yeah, Joyful first as usual. If we can't have it, neither can you. Just like you did, Gov. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, if I can't have it, you can't have it, so you might as well just give it to me. So, that's my thought. Grimes Girl says you were scrolling with the wrong people, Gov. Yeah. Tell it to the cannibals. Cleo says, kind of like the governor destroying the prison to take the prison. Rick was way smarter than the governor. Whoa, those are fighting words.
Shots are
Wrong
fired.
panel here, kids.
Rick was way smarter than the governor. That's why he was able to take the prison. Plus, he trusted his people, unlike the governor. I trusted my people to some extent. Come on, I had Merle Dixon. How are you going to trust him 100%? There's no way. But yeah, I think it's just that they did not see it as a problem, and I had a bunch of negative people around me. I don't know that he's that much smarter, and he's certainly not a better fighter, because I would have killed that some bitch if it weren't for Michonne stabbing me in the back. But anyway, I'm going to calm down. So Joyful first says, Red Grimes, LOL. Simply keeps the residents grateful and aligned. Exclusivity. Griffin says, that was Deanna.
Who's Deanna? Sorry, had to go there.
Well, she's a YouTuber who interviews people. She didn't have YouTube. Strand is going to learn like Morgan that you can't rule by fear. People stay with Morgan and Rick out of loyalty and love and respect. That's what Grimes Girl says.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I mean, when you look at how I governed beautifully Woodbury, I inspired people. I didn't make them fear me. I entertained them. Sheesh. I wanted. Are they not entertained? So, I did not rule by fear. But, I inspired people to follow me, and then when they screw up, I mow them down with an AUG. That's all. That's, isn't that how you're supposed to do it? Reward failure with, a couple bullets.
I don't know about all that.
But Cleo says the situation with Stan, I guess, reminds her of Negan holding Judith. Didn't like that one bit.
Yeah.
That was not good either.
No.
The recap pod says, don't mess with anyone's kids. Grimes Girl says, Grace Actor said on, I guess, the Talking Dead hell to the no of Strand saying he was her new daddy. So I guess it was a Talking Dead?
Yeah, there was a Talking Dead. It was a combo with Fear and The World Beyond.
All right.
I have to go rewatch it.
Yeah.
They need to stop doing that. Sorry.
So did they give away the painting of Strand?
No, they did not.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Did they give away anything?
No, they didn't.
Man,
No, they didn't.
They're getting cheap over there. They get cheap with the Talking Dead and all the copyright claims. Am I right? Grimes Girl 26 says, Erica says a line, some of that made me hate Strand. So as soon as he crossed that line, yeah, he lost a lot of people. Recap Pod says, Strand saying he's Mo's new daddy was so cringy. Joe first says, and Motorcycle 2. Okay. I don't know what that's about. I gotta go way back.
Dwight. Dwight took Daryl's motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
Yeah, he took the motorcycle. Yeah, well, I'm glad to see Dwight turned into his own kind of weirdo instead of being, trying to be Daryl.
Daryl 2.0.
Pretty much.
Something major happened in this episode that we haven't talked about yet.
Well, lead us down that road.
Wendell. We saw Wendell.
Yes.
Wendell's back.
Yes.
The final
Wendell's
return
back.
of Wendell.
Finally.
This had the return of Wendell. We finally got to see Wendell. And later on, Alicia. But let's talk about Wendell first.
Yes.
And Strand being like, you're mad because I didn't let your sister in. He's like, what?
I
He
know.
didn't even know anything about
He
it.
didn't
I'm
even
like, wow.
know. Like, you big dummy, you gave it away.
I
But
guess
he's paranoid. He's paranoid. And so now he's talking crazy. Everybody is his enemy. But Wendell was fine and happy. He seemed, okay living in the tower. He looked good. But now you've told him that you kept his sister outside and, wouldn't let her in. So now you've made an enemy out of Wendell when you didn't have one.
Yeah, now he's going to push you, son of a bitch.
It seems like out of our group, everybody is like on board with not wanting to be there, not wanting to be around Strand, because June wasn't too happy with him by the end of it either. John already didn't want to be there. Like you just said, Wendell, he's probably not going to be too happy about all that. So interesting. Grace
June,
obviously is not going to want to be there.
But June made the point that, she's playing the game, she's doing what she can to help people from within, and that John died, our John died because he ran away from, and he refused to, play the game, which, I don't entirely agree with.
No, because June, she's got a lot of nerve. When we first met June and how many other names she's had since we met her on this show, she was running. She was constantly running and changing her name and telling people she was somebody else. This is like June is like her third name that she's had on this show. Okay, so that's number one. And then you're saying that your dead husband, if he hadn't run away, he'd still be alive. When you were the one who was always running away. Shut up. Shut up, June. Can't stand it.
I wanted Morgan to finish that conversation because I wanted to hear what he had to say, because he had a rebuttal, but I was like, Strand walked in.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get it in the next episode. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't happy with her reasoning either.
No. She just needs to shut it.
Yeah, June has never been my favorite character. I mean, I enjoyed the fuck out of her shooting Virginia. Because, who wouldn't?
Right.
But, overall, she's been kind of shady.
Yep.
And I always thought John could do better.
Yep.
But, he's very loyal, and he decided that, the first girl who came to wash up on his shores at his house was the girl for him. And so... wasn't very bright. So Strand figures out it was Morgan why Morgan chose such a colorful poison instead of something, I don't know.
Clear.
Yeah, clear that wouldn't show up on his hands. You know, come
Right.
on. It's like,
Right.
and wouldn't have shown up, wouldn't have instantly told June that Strand had been poisoned. When he puked, if it was clear,
Right.
she wouldn't have been able to tell. She would have had to do more tests.
Mm.
But when, you know, people generally don't puke up blue unless they're drinking some really funky shit. So,
Yeah, he could have just got a cup of radiation water or something from one of the lakes. Just poured it right on it. It would have mixed right in with the brown liquor. Nobody would have known.
No.
yeah, I mean, how hard can it be to get, you know, iocane powder? It's colorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid. Oh, sorry, wrong movie. Well, let's see.
Well, how about Howard looked so hurt when Strand was accusing him? Like Howard looked like his heart was broken. You know, he's like, but it's me, and it's like, yeah, you too.
Yeah,
You don't trust any of them. Not you either, Howard. So
I mean,
suck it.
Yeah, that's just how Strand's always is. Like he's gonna default to himself and only trusting himself, and then everybody's his enemy in that moment.
And
So
Howard
Howard
didn't
doesn't know
understand
that
that until that moment, and then he was all
Mhm.
hurt, and it's like, yeah, buddy, you don't mean anything to Strand at all.
Mhm.
now,
That's why I want to see more with his character and if this changed him. I want to learn more about the character. Like I feel
Yeah.
like he can, I don't know, evolve into something more, but we got to see.
Yeah.
Now, is their relationship, do you feel it's platonic, or do you think that there's
Yeah.
some romance?
No, I think it's platonic.
Yeah, platonic, because I think Howard's been alone for so long, and he hadn't had anybody. He had nothing really but himself and his liquor or whatever else he had in that building. Then Strand shows up and makes it a vacation spot. So I think he
I
likes
know.
that. I
Yeah.
think he likes
So,
the company.
so
I
it's
think
more
he
of the
likes the
hero
company.
worship and not, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
That
say
makes
so.
sense. Cleo brings up an interesting point. Wasn't Wendell with Skidmark and the kids?
Mm.
Are we still talking about those damn kids?
No,
I
we're
mean,
still talking about Skidmark, not
we
the
don't-
kids.
we don't-
We
miss
want
the
Skid.
kids.
Okay, yes, we want to know where Skidmark is because Daniel needs his cat back. We don't care about those kids, but yeah. So I'll say Cleo's probably right that definitely Wendell has Skidmark, and we'll see him at some point, you know, running around somewhere, you know, after all the dust settles.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because, you
Me
know,
too.
we already lost Rufus. Can't lose
Yeah.
Skidmark, too.
Yeah.
And the kids, we don't care. You know, they could be out. They could have become
Yeah.
biters out in the radiation.
Yeah.
Didn't they get sent far away? Didn't they have like a piece of dialogue that said they got sent very far?
They got
so
sent
far
to
from
one
the-
of Virginia's other compounds or whatever, and then never heard of again. Like once Virginia was dead, what happened to all of the other compounds? Did they just go on and kind of do
I
their
think
own
that's
thing?
where Strand got some of his people because they refer to them as
Right.
Rangers.
Right.
So I think he went recruiting, you know, for the first group of people, and he knew his Rangers that he could trust, so he brought them in, or felt he could trust as much as Strand can trust. He
Right.
brought some people in from those communities that survived, and then, you know, started the whole, let's go see who else we can bring in.
Yeah.
Until he decided to close the borders because he felt that, you know, immigrants were taking the jobs inside the tower. Or whatever it was.
Oh no.
But yeah, so Strand is making enemies left and right, Grimes Girl says, which does not end well for him, which won't end up well. Joyful First says, just like June's hospital from Ginny, June's doing the same thing. Erica says, tell it, Karena. I'm not sure where that was, but Amy, Laura, June. I thought there was a fourth name, but I can't remember it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Erica says John did deserve better.
He did.
Joyful First agrees. Cleo says, I thought it was the paint. And Joyful First says, thinks this is the turning point for Howard. So him being accused might lead him to, you know, think about maybe Strand isn't the best one to lead.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Right, and Karena, weren't me and you talking about that he wasn't too on board with how he asked for Baby Mo at the end?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Howard did not
yeah.
like that at all, and you could see it on his face. He's like, okay, this line is too far. The other things you've done, I've gone along with it, but now you're messing with this little baby, and I don't like it. And you can see it on his face. So I definitely think that Howard's gonna start to turn away from Strand. I agree.
And he might let Morgan back in. Joyful First says, those kids died in the blast. Big smiley face. I mean...
Yes.
Rhymes Girl 26 says...
goodness.
Best answer ever.
Yes.
Rhymes Girl 26 says, the kids disappeared like the Oceanside people.
Yeah, they did.
My God, yes.
And Cleo says, Rufus, cheer, yes. So now Strand got Morgan's daughter and Daniel's kitty. Really living the good life with his two worst enemies' prized possessions. Not
True.
that, you know.
That's true. That is true.
Not that a daughter is a possession, so to speak, and nor is a cat.
But we know what you mean.
But we know.
Yeah, we get it.
Know, most prized companions, we'll say, or what they most prize. So Grace decides to, basically make a deal with Strand so Morgan would not be thrown off the roof, become another will splatter. And Morgan goes out there and gets approached by people who look like the group that attacked, but is not. And it turns out to be, of course, Dwight and Sherry. Sherry still annoys me. I don't know what it is, her mere existence.
Get the band back together. Yes.
But, I put up with her for Dwight's sake, And then they meet the leader, who is Alicia.
Alicia's
so we finally
back.
got her back. And we have a lot of questions about why the hell would you leave a nice, comfy bunker. But according to the previews for next week, we're going to get some of those questions answered, it looks like. You can just blink twice, Tomaj, if that is the case. Some. We're going to get a little bit of the answer, but not maybe all of it. Because I saw there was some flashback with Will and him talking to Alicia, so we'll see.
They killed him way, way too soon. I would have liked that character to stick around. It stuck that Strand, threw him off the building.
Well, we'll get to see some backstory and,
Yeah,
maybe
they pack
he'll have
a
a
lot
twin brother.
in the next episode. I think the next episode's like almost an hour long. Like, they pack a lot into it.
Well, that will be something I look forward to. Andy says it could have been creepy with the baby with Strand. No, it's not like that, but a tactic to make Morgan be controlled. Because it's not only he possesses what Morgan has, but if he can get the baby to really be attached to Strand, then Morgan might not be as quick to off Strand if it's like, Daddy Strand, that type of thing. That's my impression
I might
of a
lose my
baby, and
shit
I'm
if I
sticking
hear
with
that.
it.
None of that. We don't need that.
No.
And now we have exploding, and again, I don't know how the physics works, but dirty bomb biters get shot and explode. And they were calling them walkers, so I'm like, wow, how quickly it spreads. It's like, no, in this show we call them walkers. I don't care if you call them Romas, Radas, Stinkers, whatever you called them before. No, just call them walkers. Because Alicia's in charge.
Yes.
Trevor says, I've leveled out on Sherry. She wasn't as annoying as she was. I just think she's... I don't know. It's the way she portrays the character.
It's the way she breathes.
Yeah, it's just something... Maybe I'm not so quick to forgive. But, yeah,
I'm still waiting for one of those two to die because they wanted to start a family now. So I'm waiting for one of those to go.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be next.
Always the kiss of death.
Yep.
They're
Once they
not the
start
best
making
decision
plans.
makers.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not.
So next
The
week,
one thing
we're-
that got me was in their episode, like she was like the first one to be like, all right, Dwight, you stay here. I'm gonna go off and make it. I'm like, but you just found him. You guys don't want to separate again. And it's dangerous out here. Y'all got enemies. Why would you want to leave your husband? Like that didn't make sense to me. Like, stick together.
Well,
They should stick
that-
together, but also he was acting like a punk, okay? Like he was like, well, let's just go back to Strand. We could just go live with, like, no, dude,
No,
no.
they flipped too much,
Strand
both
is
of them.
acting like Negan, and she saw that, and you were willing to fall right back in line with Strand, just like you did with Negan, and Sherry wasn't having it. So for that, I'm saying kudos to Sherry, even though she got on my nerves, a lot in, episodes past. But definitely kudos to her for that, because she's like, no, Strand equals Negan. I'm not doing that shit again. No.
Yeah, I respect her for that and for her insight for that. But otherwise, she just still annoys the hell out of me. So, again, it's just maybe it's the first impression. Maybe she looks like some chick who screwed me over in the past. I have no idea, but that's how I feel. All right. Also, yeah. Other people are saying let it be Sherry if someone has to die.
Okay.
Grimes Girl says Baby
Tell
Morgan
us
is
how
not
you
gonna-
really feel.
Grimes Girl says Baby Morgan is not going for it. She'll cry and cry like she did before, and Strand will probably want to give her back, unless he
baby
plays
can cry.
music. He could play music. That works.
Do that.
The ending with Strand in the painting, Joyful First says, was a parallel to Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
And Grimes Girl says, that's what I thought of too. As soon as I saw the portrait of Dorian Gray, and we know how that ended for him. So, on that note, final thoughts, shameless self-promotion, Karena. Tell us about you, and, if you want anyone to follow you on the socials, feel free to tell people where they can.
Alrighty, well, I'm not a reactor, so I don't have a channel to plug, but I definitely want to thank you guys for having me. I had so much fun. It was a really good time. Like I said, I'm normally in the chat with everybody else going on and on and on, and so it's fun to be on this side. Thank you so much. And for a plug, I guess you can follow me on Twitter at Tootie Taurus. That's TOOTIE TAURUS on Twitter, and I tweet about Walking Dead and Fear of the Walking Dead, obviously, World Beyond. And I tweet about soap operas because, I love soap. So if you want to hear about dead people and walkers, please follow me. Thanks.
And dead people on soap operas, too.
I was going to say, and then I walked it back.
Dead soap opera stars. So let's not talk about those. Tomaj.
Oh, he's looking
Shameless
at me.
plug,
He's ready.
final thoughts, anything?
Yeah, so I love the episode. I think this might be my favorite one of the season. The twists and turns got me. The drama was good. The tension was good. I'm excited to see where all the characters in this episode get thrusted to. Alicia's back. That's always a plus. So yeah. But you can catch me at Big Bro and Little Sis Reacts on YouTube. I'm just finishing up my reactions to the finales of World Beyond and Fear. And then we do other things like Young Justice Phantoms, The Flash. Over on Patreon, we're reacting to Star Trek Discovery. We're going to be doing Star Trek Voyager Season 2 and Battlestar Galactica, among other things, I'm sure. So you can catch me there.
Awesome. Jazz?
I agree with Tomaj. This was the best episode so far this season. I mean, that's not really that hard to do, but still. You can catch me over at Rose City Widow, or you can check out my choir's Facebook and Instagram page, Vancouver Master Chorale. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be with you guys next week because I have my dress rehearsals, but have a great show. I know it's going to be fantastic as it's the mid-season finale.
All right. Yes, and it will be a shame that you're not here because you are you're my rock. You're my Martinez.
Aww.
Who I might actually...
An OG.
Of course, Martinez, we all know what happened to him,
Yeah.
So be careful. Anyways, And of course, I am the governor and the host of the Governor Reacts, and you can find my videos on Fandom Spotlite. Tomorrow night, we're going to have the VCR Redux crew talking about what it would take to make a sequel to Scrooged with Bill Murray. So they're going to be talking about their thoughts on that. On Thursday, we have our new Hawkeye panels, because Hawkeye is so far really good. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
we're
it
going to
is.
have discussions every Thursday right here, wherever you're watching it, whether you're watching it on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. Yeah, let's see. Anyone on Twitch? No. If you get bored of just looking at the interface and talking to other people on YouTube, you can go be alone on Twitch if you want and watch us on there. But this weekend, I will be going to LA Comic-Con, so hopefully I'll have a whole bunch of panels and various things. So if you happen to be going to LA Comic-Con and you see me wandering around, I might not be wearing a patch. Just be sure to say hi. And we'll see everybody next week for the mid-season finale, except for Jaz, who's, has to be all autistic.
I got other
and shit.
things to do. Sorry.
Yeah. But we'll see everyone next week. So this is Governor and this fine crew out. And I'm going to see how long I can make people be awkward. No, I'm going to...
Highly sedated, intoxicated. We're automated and overpopulated. We're all fish in a stream, swimming towards a vicious dream.